Welcome to the Renaissance Spirit.
History remembers us by the swords we wield or the treaties we sign, but rarely does it recall the hearts we carry. Salve, dear friends. My name is Lucius Verus, and welcome to my telling of my life as a Roman emperor. As I sit now, a shade in the annals of history, my reflection upon my life as Emperor of Rome must begin not with the moment I took the purple, but from the cradle, for therein lies the root of my character, the story behind the crown. Some remember me as the co-emperor with Marcus Aurelius, and some still mistake me for a shadow in his light. But I tell you now that there is more to me than that. So let me speak to you not as a conqueror or a ruler, but as Lucius, human, flawed, and as bound to fate as any of you. I was born in December 130 AD, a child of nobility, yet unaware of the weight of destiny that would one day rest on my shoulders. My family was one of power, but also one of warmth. And that contradiction, power versus the intimacy of familial bonds, would shape much of my reign. My father, Lucius Aelius Caesar, was adopted by Emperor Hadrian, marking the beginning of our path to glory, but it was his untimely death that left my path uncertain. I was thrust into the care of my adoptive grandfather, Emperor Antoninus Pius, who became more of a father than I ever knew my own. But here is the first truth I must share with you. Even in my youth, I had not asked for power. I had not sought out to be ruler of the world's greatest empire. I had instead been molded into it, forged by forces greater than myself. It was not my destiny to seize Rome, it was Rome that seized me. My education, of course, was impeccable rhetoric, philosophy, literature, tools meant to prepare me for rule, but what I truly inherited was a love for pleasure, for the simple joys of life. One must indulge, or else, what is all this power for, I would often ask myself, and it is this duality between duty and indulgence that would define not only my reign but my entire life. Let me share with you my thoughts on my early days. From my very birth, I was surrounded by the sharp edges of Roman ambition, but also within the walls of our villa there were softer things, books, music, and a mother's love. My family's arms embraced me, even as the empire called for my attention. These early contradictions will return in my story, but for now they were a foreshadowing of greater dilemmas to come. Next, I shall take you to the moment of my ascent, when fate truly revealed itself, and Rome placed the weight of the empire upon my shoulders. The years of my early career would change me forever, just as they would change Rome. My early days in the corridors of power were marked by a sense of inevitability. I was the son of Lucius Aelius Caesar, destined to be in the line of succession, but I never expected that the imperial purple would come to me so soon or in such a peculiar manner. When Emperor Hadrian chose my father as his successor, the empire looked to us, but my father's sudden death in 138 AD cast doubt over my future. It was a blow, one that might have thrown lesser men into obscurity, but Hadrian's careful planning left the door open for my eventual rise. After my father's death, Hadrian adopted Antoninus Pius as his successor, on the condition that Antoninus, in turn, adopt me and Marcus Aurelius. In a single stroke, I found myself closer to the imperial throne than I could have ever imagined. Marcus and I were now brothers, not by blood, but by destiny. Our relationship was one of both competition and camaraderie. He was the Stoic philosopher, I the lover of life's pleasures, and yet we complemented each other as two sides of the same coin. In 161 AD, when Antoninus Pius breathed his last, Marcus and I ascended together as co-emperors, a most unusual arrangement in the history of Rome. Two rulers sharing equal power. The people were uncertain, the Senate skeptical. Rome cannot have two heads, they whispered, but we proved them wrong. Together we forged a unique bond, ruling as equals, though our hearts were set on different paths. Marcus, ever the philosopher, was focused on duty, honor, and the welfare of the empire, while I sought the joys of life, pleasure, entertainment, and the vibrancy of existence. But the story of my rise cannot be told without mentioning the wars that came with it. The Parthian campaign, one of the defining moments of my reign, was thrust upon me soon after I ascended. The Parthians had grown bold, their eyes set on Roman lands in the east. I was sent to face them, leading the legions into battle while Marcus remained in Rome to tend to the empire. It was my first true test, my chance to prove myself not just as a co-emperor, but as a leader in my own right. The war was grueling, the Parthians fierce, but we triumphed. The victory was mine to claim, though it came at a great cost. The plague followed my legions back from the east, a pestilence that would ravage Rome for years to come. It was a bittersweet victory. As I returned to Rome hailed as a hero, I could not shake the feeling that the shadow of the plague loomed larger than my triumph. Victory comes with a price, I once said to Marcus, and indeed I would learn that more deeply as time went on. So with my rise came challenges, not just of war, but of balancing the weight of empire with my desires, balancing the expectations of Rome with the reality of shared rule. The world saw us as two halves of one whole, but it was clear from the start that I walked a different path than Marcus. Together we led Rome, but as the years passed, the differences between us grew. What came next was the heart of my reign, the years in which I truly stepped out from the shadow of my brother and predecessor. We ruled together, yes, but in the hearts of many I remained the co-emperor. And that, dear viewer, is where the true complexity of my reign begins. What does it mean to be a ruler when you are never truly alone in power? I will leave that question hanging, for the next part of my story will show you how my rule diverged from those who came before. And what of Marcus? He, the philosopher king, and I, the man of pleasure, our destinies, would soon lead us down different roads, and in that divergence, you will find the essence of my time as emperor. By the time Marcus Aurelius and I were seated on the throne together, Rome had entered a new era, one marked by an experiment in dual leadership. The empire had known powerful singular rulers, Hadrian, Trajan, even Antoninus Pius, who adopted us both, but never had it witnessed two emperors ruling side by side with equal authority. And that is where the comparison to my predecessors inevitably begins. Marcus and I represented two aspects of the empire's soul. He, the philosopher, guided by Stoic principles of duty, service, and the betterment of mankind. I, the lover of art, sport, and luxury, believing deeply that life was meant to be savored, not endured. We complemented each other, yes, but as the years passed, the divide between us widened. During his reign, Antoninus Pius had ruled with a calm and steady hand, maintaining peace across the empire. He had governed with a sense of responsibility and balance, never allowing conflict to disturb the fabric of Roman society. In contrast, my reign was one of constant motion, war, pestilence, and indulgence intertwined. I sought out the pleasures of life, entertaining the masses with games and spectacles. To some, this made me appear a lesser emperor than Marcus, who was always so focused on philosophical matters and the welfare of the state. But I ask you this, does an emperor not deserve to live? Does he not deserve joy amid the weight of empire? While Marcus was concerned with the morality of rulership, I was concerned with the vitality of the people. My reign brought festivals, gladiatorial games, and artistic patronage. Rome had become too solemn under the rule of the philosophers. My vision was to bring back the vibrancy of life to the capital, to remind the people that we lived not only for the state, but for the enjoyment of life itself. I often said, a ruler's duty is to provide not just stability, but happiness to his people. The Parthian War tested my mettle, as I mentioned before, and while Marcus pondered the nature of suffering in his meditations, I faced the chaos of the battlefield and the logistics of rebuilding the empire after war. It was not an easy task. The plague that followed us home was another cruel twist of fate, one that both Marcus and I had to confront. But we confronted it in our own ways. Where Marcus sought to philosophize the pain, I sought to distract from it. I brought relief to the people through celebration, even as the city suffered. One could argue that Marcus's focus on introspection kept the people steady, but I knew that distraction was just as necessary. Where my reign truly stands apart, however, is in the contrast of our approaches to leadership. Marcus was diligent, always pondering the empire's future, careful to carry the burdens of Rome on his shoulders. His decisions were measured, even if they came slowly. I, however, believed in swift action, decisive, yes, but also indulgent. I spent lavishly on festivals and games, much to the chagrin of the Senate. I was criticized for my excesses, for my taste in luxury, but I knew that life in the palace was far too fleeting to live otherwise. The world needed both of us, Marcus and me. We balanced each other. Yet when people speak of our reign, they often speak only of him. They forget that in my own way, I was leading Rome through storms just as ferocious. I was not a Marcus Aurelius, and that is precisely why Rome needed me. The next chapter in my story, however, would show that even an emperor's indulgence cannot last forever. My reign, marked by moments of triumph and joy, would come to an abrupt and tragic end. Death is the one conqueror no ruler can escape. And as it approached, I began to reflect on what my time on the throne truly meant for me and for Rome. But for now, let me leave you with this thought. Was I a lesser ruler because I was not a philosopher? Or was I a necessary contrast to Marcus, showing that even emperors must live fully, not just wisely? My death would bring a reckoning to that question and a change in the direction of the empire. I had always thought myself invincible. I had tasted victory, reveled in pleasure, and felt the admiration of Rome's people. Yet, like all men, I was mortal, and it is in mortality that emperors are equal to their subjects. My death came swiftly, unexpectedly, struck down not by an enemy's sword or betrayal, but by illness, the silent killer that even an emperor cannot escape. In 169 AD, while accompanying Marcus on a campaign against the Germanic tribes, I fell ill. It seemed like a minor fever at first, the sort of ailment any man might brush off. After all, I had faced far greater dangers on the battlefield. But this was different. The fever worsened, sapping my strength in ways no enemy ever could. The Parthian War had brought the plague to our empire, and now it seemed fate had decided that I would be among its many victims. Marcus was with me when I died. My co-emperor, my brother-in-arms, stood by my side, his solemn face reflecting both sorrow and resignation. He, the philosopher, must have understood in his heart that death was inevitable, even for those of us who wore the purple. He had always prepared himself for this. Stoicism had taught him that all things must end. But for me, the reality of death was far harder to accept. I had lived for life's pleasures, for the joy of existence, and now it was being taken from me. As I lay in my final hours, I could feel the weight of unfinished things. What more could I have done? What more could I have been? I had lived in Marcus's shadow for much of our shared reign, and now in death, I knew that history would remember him more fondly than me. But did I regret my choices? Not entirely. I had lived my reign true to who I was. If we must face death, let us at least do it having truly lived, I had once said. Now it was my time to face that truth. I left Marcus alone to continue the fight, not just against the Germanic tribes, but against the very forces that threaten every ruler: time, death, and the whims of history. My death brought grief to the empire, though I was not a beloved philosopher king like Marcus. The people mourned, but life continued. Even for emperors, death is but a ripple in the endless flow of history. But my legacy, such as it was, would not die with me. As I passed into the afterlife, I knew that my life had been one of contrasts: war and pleasure, duty and indulgence, power and frailty. And I wondered, what would Rome make of me now that I was no longer there to defend myself? The question of legacy is one I could not answer in life, but perhaps you, dear viewer, will be the judge. I shall tell you now what happened in the years after my death, and how the empire remembered me or failed to. History, after all, can be as fickle as the people who write it. In death, my name was woven into the great tapestry of Roman history, though I often feared I would be remembered as little more than Marcus Aurelius's lesser half, the emperor who loved luxury more than duty. History is cruel that way. Overshadowed by the philosophies of Marcus, I became a footnote to his reign. But I was more than just a counterbalance to his stoicism. My legacy, like the man I was, is complex and not so easily confined to a single narrative. The Rome I left behind was an empire in transition, torn between stability and decadence, between the hardships of war and the celebrations of life. My reign was marked by triumphs and indulgences alike. As I had said in my lifetime, Rome is more than its legions, it is its people, its culture, and its joy. I believed that, and that belief shaped my policies. Some called me wasteful, others indulgent, but I knew that even in times of hardship the people needed hope, and that hope could come in the form of festivals, games, and public spectacles. In this way I left a legacy of generosity, even if it was misunderstood. But what did Rome truly take from my time on the throne? For one, I proved that co-rule was possible, if only for a time. The balance between Marcus and me was delicate, but it worked. Rome did not fall into civil war, despite the tensions that could have easily boiled over. Our shared reign may have been an experiment, but it was one that kept the empire stable, even if we walked different paths to do so. In a way, I represented the human side of emperorship, imperfect, flawed, but capable of connecting with the people on a visceral level. My indulgence in the pleasures of life was not just for myself, but for Rome too. I believed in giving the people something to live for beyond survival, beyond duty. What the Senate thought of me mattered less. They saw me as a contrast to Marcus's solemnity, too loose with the treasury, too fond of distraction. But the people? They remembered me for the festivals and the relief I brought during times of plague and war. I may not have been a philosopher king, but I was a king of the people, and that too is a legacy worth defending. Still, my shadow remains tied to Marcus's light. His Stoic meditations and writings endure, while my name fades from most lips. But should a legacy be judged by who writes the history, or by what truly shaped the empire? I often think of the victories we achieved together, the triumph over the Parthians, the defense of our borders against the Germanic tribes. They were as much mine as they were Marcus's. Yet I will forever be the emperor known for his love of luxury, rather than his hand in war. Even after my death, the Senate deified me, granting me the status of a god, as was customary for emperors. But divinity is not what I sought. I sought to live fully, to remind Rome that even in times of great burden, we must not forget to celebrate life. And perhaps that is the legacy I leave behind, the balance between the seriousness of rule and the joy of living. Yet there is one more question to answer, one that has haunted me even in death. Was it all worth it? That answer, my dear viewer, I will leave for the final part of my story. For now, know this. My legacy is not just in the decisions I made, but in the choices you make about me. Would you have ruled differently? Would you have judged me more kindly had I been another Stoic emperor? Or do you see the wisdom in a ruler who embraced life in all its complexity? In the end, the true worth of my reign lies in the question of what Rome became after I was gone, and that is where the judgment of history lies. Let us ponder that in the final chapter. Was my reign, indulgent as it was, necessary for the soul of Rome? And more importantly, what does it mean for the soul of any nation? As I look back now through the lens of time, I find myself asking the same question that many of you may be asking. Was my reign truly worth it? In the eyes of the historians, I am often reduced to a figure of indulgence, an emperor who loved pleasure and sport more than governance. But as I have always said, the life of a ruler is not simply about command and conquest. It is about understanding the needs of the people, and understanding that a ruler's humanity, as flawed as it may be, is essential for the soul of an empire. At the heart of the question, we must consider what my reign represented. Some might argue that Marcus Aurelius, with his philosophy of stoicism and unwavering sense of duty, was the ideal ruler concerned only with the welfare of the empire. But I believed and still believe that the mark of a great empire is not just its strength, but its ability to embrace the fullness of life. That means understanding freedom, equality, and the role of liberty, even within the confines of an autocratic system like ours. Was my reign worth it? To answer that, we must look not at how I ruled, but why I ruled the way I did. I indulged in the joys of life, because I understood that liberty is more than just the freedom to speak or act. It is the freedom to live, to dance, to laugh, to experience art and beauty, even in times of great strife. If an emperor with all his power cannot enjoy these simple things, then what hope is there for the people? I gave them festivals, gladiatorial games, and a respite from the relentless burdens of life. I believed that Rome could not thrive on stoicism alone. It needed joy. And is that not a kind of freedom? As I lay on my deathbed, stricken by the plague, I pondered these things. I knew that I would be remembered as the lesser emperor, the one who cared more for pleasure than philosophy. But what many failed to see was that the pursuit of happiness, of liberty, is as noble a cause as the pursuit of wisdom. Both are essential to a functioning society. Marcus's reign was one of introspection and governance. Mine was one of celebration and connection. But together, we represented the full spectrum of what Rome needed, a balance between duty and the freedom to live. Equality, liberty, these were ideals that could never be fully realized in our time, I know. But I understood their importance. Even as emperor, I knew that my rule must serve the people, not enslave them to a never-ending cycle of war and labor. The games and festivals were not just distractions. They were symbols of an empire that valued the spirit of its citizens. In the end, I believed that a just ruler must see the humanity in all his people, not just the patricians or senators, but the plebeians, the slaves, and the soldiers. Freedom is the right to joy, not just survival. Perhaps looking back from your modern world, you can see the relevance of this. What is power if not used to create a better, more equal society? Rome in my time struggled with this balance, but I like to think that I, in my own way, pushed the empire closer to that ideal. Democracy, as you know it now, was far from what we practiced, but the seeds of it, the desire for equality, freedom, and liberty, were planted even in my reign. And if we failed to achieve it, perhaps it was because we had not yet learned to embrace both duty and joy as fundamental rights of every citizen. As I draw this tale to a close, I leave you with a final thought. History judges rulers by their accomplishments, but true judgment comes from the people they serve. Was my reign worth it? I would argue yes, for what I offered Rome was more than just governance. I offered it life. I offered it the chance to experience freedom, however fleeting. And perhaps that is the greatest gift any ruler can give. Now, as you walk the streets of ancient Rome, as you visit the monuments, the Colosseum, and the temples that still stand, think of me not as a forgotten emperor, but as a man who sought to bring balance to the empire. And if you hold in your hand a coin bearing my likeness, know that it is not the image of a man who sought power, but one who sought to live fully. For in the end, we are all emperors of our own lives, and the only legacy that matters is the one we leave in the hearts of those we serve. Thank you for journeying through my life. If you too seek to understand the world and our shared history, embrace the Renaissance spirit dedicated to the pursuit of a just, equitable, and humanitarian world. Our mission transcends the boundaries of time, exploring the depths of history, philosophy, politics, and the arts. Like Rome, the Renaissance was a time of rediscovery, knowledge both lost and yet to be found. It opened the door to enlightenment, to reason, and to the understanding that truth and compassion are the cornerstones of a better humanity. So subscribe to this channel, and together we can continue this journey of learning, living, and growing. If you are a Renaissance spirit, if you seek knowledge and the betterment of humanity, then this is your path. Take the quiz, join the conversation, and help shape a future that honors both history and the promise of tomorrow. Vive Renaissance Spiritus! History lives on not just in books or monuments, but in us, and in our commitment to understanding the past so that we may shape a better future.